Hello, friends. We are here, the final chapter of Act 2. Thank you to each and every one of you that have joined us along the way. And this week, I want to give a special thanks to the fellow GMs out there that have been reaching out to chat with me about my game and their games. It's been a really inspiring set of exchanges with y'all, and I look forward to more of them down the road. Real quick before we start, here is the plan for the next few weeks. It'll look a lot like last year. Next Monday, we'll release the conversation about Act 2 that the five of us had right after we finished recording the episode you're about to hear. The following week, on June 3rd, we will release another Q&A episode with listener questions. There's still time to get those in. Please do. info@darknexuspodcast.com or on the socials. Thanks to everyone who's already submitted. After that, June 10th, we'll release a recap and review episode like we did last year. And then Act 3 starts on June 17th. As always, thank you to our supporters on Patreon who are literally making this show possible. You can join the party and show your support for our adventures at patreon.com/plugandhum. And if that's not something you can afford to do right now, please do spread the word about Dark Nexus. Be the inmost blot that infects the dreams of your friends. It would be a mercy. Welcome back to Dark Nexus. Tonight, it's Act 2, Chapter 89. It's the early evening of the 10th of Neth. When Tolman's service is complete, the bodies gathered on the shore of Lake Encarthen are all lit aflame. And as the ashes of so many corpses drift into the night sky over Thrushmoor, echoing an evening of ritual and storytelling aboard the Starling back on Solstice Night, the energies of so many once living bodies mingle one final time with the energies and the substance of the material plane. Ray's body is gone now. There's nothing to return to. The same goes for Clemis Pret, Thrushmoor's two ghosts. And the same is true for all those other people, innocent or not, that lost their lives in this struggle they will never understand, sacrificed, lost as gifts to the most uncaring monarch ever to rule in this universe. It has been a week of fire. Fire elementals blazing a path through demon-worshipping cannibals, flaming arrows raining destruction down in the Northwest Valley, bodies torched and dissolved below Iris Hill, the structure and the skeleton itself of the Wailing House burned to ash, and these bodies, these people. But progress is being made in Thrushmoor. A cleanup is beginning. All that remains for you is the final cleansing of the Lowell's family estate, the Rat King and the Elder Things. Shall we take one final march up that hill, my friends?
Indeed.
Let's do it. Hey.
We walk up the long road, the long turning road where you first saw Namira Lowell's heading down that hill so many chapters ago. Up through the gatehouse, across the lawn. What's it going to be first? We're going to head into the stables, or we're going to head down to the basement. Now, we know Dabbs spent their day clearing all of the rodentia, as they would put it, out of the house and down to the old manor, so that once the Rat King is sealed off from the rest of the estate, they might begin to start new lives of their own out where they belong.
Hopes, dreams.
Hopes, dreams, children going to college.
They deserve a chance.
They do deserve a chance.
Everyone deserves a chance.
I might have thrown a lifesaver candy.
So we have this hole in the stable house and we also have an underground means of reaching that cave down below the well in the basement we know. What do you want to tackle first?
What is our plan with the elder things?
I mean, from the sound of it, they sound helpless, right?
Yeah, so just behead them?
Or be whatever them.
Do we know that beheading them will
Was
do
there a
anything?
discernible head?
Did they have a neck to slice?
They were sort of a barrel-shaped body with 5 wings jutting out for it, a whole bunch of tentacly legs below, and then, kind of a starfishy,
Brain
multi-pronged head at the top with tentacles ending in eyes. You would think that looked sort of like what... Surely that must correspond to a nervous system of some sort.
Well, let's start with cutting it in half.
Coup de graceable, at least, you would think?
They're definitely living things. Yeah.
I think that's where we start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go up there and pull out the old alchemical torch and hit and crit.
So you want to tie your 45 feet of rope back to the
tie it back to where
stairs
it got
in the
cut
stable
off.
house?
That's right.
I'm never going to let that become 50 feet. It's canon now. It will always be 45
You
feet.
got to talk to some rope maker down at the docks and be like, can you splice
Not that
this
I
back
don't
together?
trust our plan, but I'm going to cast mage armor on myself.
I, too, am using my final 2 extracts to cast Dark Vision and Shield.
Your mage armor is probably still going, Katie.
Do you think?
I do think. You won't. This is only like an hour after the last fight.
Well.
We're still in the same chunk of time, pre-sleep chunk of time here. So we can lower ourselves a good 20 feet down into this set of natural caves. It is 2 interconnected caves, the first of which is sloping steadily down to the east. It's very wet. It's quite moist in this chamber. And the instant you get down there, you're sort of bathed in this sickly yellow light that Dabwick first observed coming in from the other entrance, which is below the underground stream that feeds the tiny little pond inside the second cavern. The second cavern, where the 2 elder things stand slumbering next to a ever-burning torch, next to this sort of placid pool of water where Dabs and Grip first observed them. Was it yesterday? Probably yesterday. Mm-hmm. They still seem to be asleep. As you look at them, there's some must be sort of unconscious movement of their body. It doesn't happen in a rhythm that makes much sense to you in terms of in-out of breathing. But it's clear that they're alive, and it's clear that they don't have any awareness of you as you enter this chamber.
Perception checks.
Yeah,
and
give it to
then
me.
Stealth in.
Don't worry about stealth. Give me those perception checks. Victor.
Well, for perception, I got an 18 or a 21 for traps.
Dora.
I rolled a natural 1 for a 13.
Perfect. Gripper.
17.
And Dabs.
27.
Okay, nothing to detect. There's no traps down here. There doesn't seem to be anything in the room that you aren't aware of. It's just a quiet space with 2 creatures waiting helplessly for you to murder them.
I will admit that Dora is standing there really curious to detect thoughts, but doesn't know, A, if it will wake them up, or B, if it will just immediately drive her insane. So she's not gonna.
Okay.
But I want y'all to know I had the thought.
I appreciate that.
Based off of everything that Melisson said about these things, Victor has no compunctions about ending them.
What about the Gripper?
No, fucking kill him.
No, tell me about the feelings.
He doesn't have any feelings about this. They're to be killed.
All right, let's start with the one that Grip is going to murder. So a coup de grace, you automatically hit, and you automatically achieve a critical hit. So go ahead and roll critical damage for whatever weapon you want to attack with. And feel free to turn that power attack on. Pile it on, man.
Take weapon specialization.
Yeah, do it all.
So red destiny gives me I have that modifier becomes 1d6 plus 9 instead of 1d8 plus 7. So I'm guaranteed the plus 9 with the sword.
So it's a red destiny.
Yep.
Through what you guess is the center of its anatomy.
Sure.
So your power attacking critical hit.
So that would be 22 damage.
Nice.
For the critical.
Now this helpless sentient creature with a soul will make a fortitude save equal to DC 10 plus the damage dealt, or die. It fails. You have successfully murdered this helpless being. Hey, Johnny, what's Victor attacking with?
He's going to attack with the alchemical torch.
I think you have to coup de grace with a melee weapon. You
Yeah,
do.
I think so.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
You do.
Well, then I'll just shoot it multiple times in the head until it's dead. I'm not going to get that close to it.
All right. You blow away this helpless sentient being with a soul. They're both dead now. Their helpless, slumbering threat to the town has now passed.
As long as you're not editorial.
How much XP do we get for that?
You lose 5 points.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that Vic and Grip are probably not wrestling with this at all. I'll just be curious in the long term if the other two of you are.
It's troublesome for Dora. But they certainly chose a particular place to land here.
They sure did.
And pretty much nothing good comes out of Thrushmore. And so I think
And the only things that look unnatural that we've seen have been awful in trying to. I mean, like the Star Vampire and the
Yeah.
Hound. That's all been stuff trying to kill us.
And Mellison referred to them as, what was the term?
I think she called them the King's Foot Soldiers or something.
Yeah.
well,
But
I mean,
she
okay,
also
if-
didn't
if-
make mental contact with them either. But yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the part that,
Yeah,
that
that's a kind
that's
of a
sticking
Vic
in
is
Victor's.
coming off of.
Yeah.
Of like, if Mellison thought that these things were good, they are not good for this town
Yeah, fuck 'em.
or anybody here.
And
Yeah.
certainly tying them to the King in Yellow is pretty damning.
And if the point, again, is to clear this place out so that others can actually safely start to figure out what to do with
I mean,
it.
like, we're not going to hang out for them to wake up,
Yep.
right? So if we go away, we do stuff, and then we find out they woke up and decimated Ustalav, like, that's, you can't,
You've played in too many campaigns that I've run already.
right. You are the cause of this.
Yes.
You are
I made
the
you
reason
murder
that
them.
we murder things.
I'm already
because-
paranoid.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, truly, if everybody else in the party was like, I think we should leave it alone, I think that Vic would go, absolutely. And then I would sneak out and kill them.
Yeah, I buy that.
And then I would sneak back and be like, you guys were right.
You made the right
Yeah,
choice.
Totally. We should just leave them be.
All right. So, heading down to the well chamber,
Yep.
Yes.
Dabwick has already located the small tunnel that leads back to the warren where the Rat King is nesting. They know that this is the means they have of getting access to the complex. And I believe now you have some stone shapes prepared. Is that right?
Yeah, I've got a stone shape prepared, and I can stay underwater to seal this off. But I can that would seal the Rat King in there,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
No escape, no food.
correct. And like this is a portion of the underground subsystem down here that is stone.
Right, and isolated,
Yeah.
not connected to the rest of the town. So what I
You're
think is,
condemning it.
yeah,
Is it something that can untangle itself from itself and become many rats again?
No, a change has happened.
Okay.
It has become more.
So I think it's just a matter of running the spell and closing them off in there. Are you all right with that?
I don't understand the question.
Exactly.
Again, if we were to hear that people were murdered by the Rat King that we left, not, I don't.
Right.
And sort of unlike the Elder Things, which you know relatively little about, you do know that these things have become an intelligent force of evil.
Well,
They are a corrupted thing that has been warped by demonic powers into
Yeah.
a shape that can actually give intentionality to clusters of rats in a way that they don't have.
It's a mercy.
It's a mercy.
It's a mercy.
Wall them up, Montresor.
That's right. That's right. Get a little Poe in here.
Zoom.
Zoom.
Dabs lays their hands on the stone above that part of the well and seals off the Rat King.
have we just used stone shape as a weapon?
Yes. Oh my God. Do I get a medal or something?
Sort of as a third hand weapon. But yeah, in a way you have. You have guaranteed the ultimate demise of the Rat King.
Thank
we-
you, 4th level spells.
Did you have any other stone shapes available? Or just one?
Just one.
Because I'm now thinking, how do we get rid of the bodies of the eldritch horror things? Like, we don't want to just leave them down there because someone will find them.
Do you want to burn those too?
Yeah.
Okay. Take them out to to the courtyard and stand around the fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Roast some marshmallows.
It is a day for that. So the ashes of the elder things join the ashes of all those that passed in Thrushmore this night. To bed?
To bed.
To sleep, perchance to dream.
Oh, there we go again.
Are we in the fort, or are we going to spend a night in Roni/Grip's house?
I think Dabwick would be in the fort.
Yeah, I think Grip's gonna sleep at the top of the donjon
There we go. Yes.
in his old digs.
Yes.
I might go to the artist's house.
Oh, one last night with Lulwyn.
Yes.
Please have some tea.
Yes.
I would very much enjoy hearing about your adventures.
That is so appealing.
It would be, yes, a little
I don't know
annoying,
why,
but quite soothing.
She's patient. That I don't think she finds him annoying. She's just, this is who he is. But he wants to connect and welcome, and that's really a breath of fresh air. And
A little blithe conversation.
yes, just talk about nothing. Like, that feels so...
Yeah, and he sits you down actually in the studio, on the first floor.
I would like to look at his artwork.
And as you're enjoying one final cup of tea with Lelwyn, he has at this point finished some of the, he had various portraits of you all where he didn't see the faces. And he has indeed finished a bunch of them. There are separate portraits of each of you, and he would give you one of Ray to take with you. I want to keep the rest because I might possibly sell these, but I thought this might be of value to you for sentimental reasons.
It is. Thank you so much.
Well, anything I can do to help those that helped me, the haunted look that passes through his eyes as he says that is very real. But you can also tell that, sort of like the rest of the town, there feels, for once, like there is a horizon, like there is the possibility
Dawn
of
is coming.
Yes, and it may not be the best dawn on the planet,
And it
'cause
may
it's
not
st-
last very long.
exactly, but yeah, like there's something in the air there.
How is he doing considering that his great artwork that he did for the Church of Pharasma in the new church has, I'm assuming, been completely obliterated along with the church itself?
I was thinking about that the other day, and my initial thought was a little like when he found out on that night before everything got resolved, a little like good riddance, for fuck's sake. I've poured this town, this hellhole, like, and then finally facing this, what did I pour myself into? Life is short. Things can now change. I now have the choice. Do I want to stay here or leave? And I don't owe anybody in this church, because the church doesn't exist, to finish this job. I'm not stuck here anymore. And if I want to stay here, that is now my choice. I think that's how he's approaching it. But I think it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Well, he's glad to share this portrait of Ray with you that you can take with you.
Is it good?
It is very good. He is actually very good.
What does Ray look like in it?
It feels like Ray chapter 3 before getting corpse juice in his mouth. First gearing up, about to head out and try to figure things out. Yeah, but not like youthful and heroic, but just determined and resolved.
That's how Dora would think of him.
And it's probably a weird combo of Ray's essence in the carriage of that early moment, which is what he was dreaming of, but Ray's face in his final days, which is when he knew him. That's the only face he can draw.
With the face being eaten away. And
Yeah. All of that is there.
Oh.
Oh, interesting. So he would probably have the scarring of Daria.
I was just wondering that.
Like, that you would be showing through the cracks, even though he absolutely would never have seen that in real life, because Ray didn't show
and
it.
It wasn't in Common,
No, it
right?
was in
It was
Infernal.
Infernal, so
Yeah.
he might not, it's probably
It's
I
probably
would hope
misspelled.
he does not know how
Yeah,
to read
yeah, he does not. It would be misspelled.
Approximated.
But yeah, approximated to the best of his ability. So, Katie, are you having a slumber party with Lelwyn?
I imagine that we stay up pretty late
Yeah.
chatting.
And then just crash in the studio?
Yeah.
Great. And then where does Vic sleep, Johnny?
Yeah, I think he goes back to his house and sort of tries to imagine what his life had been like being here, if this was a place that he actually went and slept. And probably not. Probably most of the time he was in the Iris Hill and stuff. But maybe every now and then this was a place where he went to get away from everybody else as a bolt hole.
Grappling with the absolute anonymity that he left the place. It's impossible for you to know, did he spend a lot of time here but wanted to leave it anonymous? Had he never really moved in? Who knows? But that's his night spending, sort of trying to imagine that.
Yeah, and also just kind of like thinking about the town and thinking about how much of the red in their ledger has been gotten rid of.
Does he have an answer to that?
No. But I mean, just because he doesn't have an answer doesn't mean that it's not worth thinking about.
Yeah. So, in separate places, you all sleep. And despite being separated, you all dream the same dream. It's a long dream this night, but not one that takes long to describe. You dream of soaring through space like a magnificent fungal space god. Flying, wingless and terrible, through the vast, hollow emptiness, almost completely inhospitable to life. You dream of soaring past galaxies and star clusters and planets for centuries, on your way to destroy another civilization. Praise. Bright and early on the morning of the 11th, the Sullen Starling returns. Skywind is, of course, delighted to learn that her shipment has arrived, thrilled to see some of these changes starting to happen in town, just a little bit of that sense of gloom beginning to lift. And while her crew works on loading up the Starling, and you all sit down for your morning therapy sessions, why don't we have Dabs do that with Skywind today, since they would probably spend the morning debriefing anyways.
Great idea. Yep.
Dora with Tolman?
Sure.
He would be interested in that on this, what might be a final day. What about Vic?
I mean, Grip suggested that I go see our favorite knife mistress.
Yeah.
And nobody so far has seemed to be very helpful, so...
It's worth trying anything?
Yeah.
What about Gripper?
Who's left?
Nasa is always on the docket. What about Allard? He's got a high intelligence, and they're looking to figure out how they not become the law in this town, but help become figures of the law in the area. He might appreciate a chance to talk to you, during which you could...
Yeah, I'll buy that.
All right. Dabs and Skywind. What's that conversation?
Before I meet with Skywind, Dabwick's going to... If you were looking, you would see Dabwick perform a minute-long ritual of some sort. Strange series of really mundane movements, like scratch their head, sniff the air, look under their arm, move a rock from one place to another for an inch, throw a leaf up in the air and watch it fall. And then they kind of like nod their head and come in. They had just cast Read Weather.
Okay. Tell us about that one.
The spell allows you to forecast the weather at your location for the next 48 hours, providing you with advance warning of storms, tornadoes, so on. Forecast reveals only the weather that would arise naturally, does not take into account magical occurrences that might change the weather.
Interesting. So after going through this set of rituals, look at that, there's a focus component of a set of marked sticks or bones. Do you think Dabs does this with sticks or bones?
Let's use the sticks.
A set of sticks that they've marked up carefully. And Dabs is able to determine there are no storms on the horizon for the next 2 days, no tornadoes and the like, but that fog is going to be particularly heavy in this area and to the north, starting evening tonight. Basically, conditions would be, there'd be most visibility if you were able to get out of here sometime this afternoon, rather than late at night or tomorrow.
It looks like that fog's going to stay for a while.
It does. It
Okay.
does.
All right. Knock, knock.
Oh, come in.
Welcome back. And I know we're ready to go. We're ready to get back. And I'm anxious to join you again.
You're coming with me?
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait to get home.
You're not staying here?
I don't think there's anything for me here. And, you know, my new friends, the big fella and the lady and the guy with the hat,
I do.
I think they want to come along too. And I want to say that they're not looking to catch a ride. They want to be a part of the crew and be a part of the journey. I suggest that we actually sign them on and make them part of the crew, you know, like we're all together. And then they are equally responsible for shifts, for duties, and for protecting our goods along the way.
Now, this journey is over 1,200 miles, as you know. I would normally charge a passenger between 120 and 150 gold pieces. But the ship does need protection. I would say this to you, Debs. If they want passage, and they agree to very capably, as I know they can, protect the ship, I would charge them only 75 gold pieces. Any of them that prove capable of taking a shift and working, well, perhaps I would waive that fee. But that would be their choice and their opportunity to prove themselves.
This accommodation is extremely generous of you, Skywin, and I'll really appreciate it. I know my friends will too, and I don't think there's going to be any question about the fee and the agreement. It all makes perfect sense. So when should we get them in the ledger?
Is it only the four of you? We're running out of room here, Debs. Is anyone else coming?
Well, that's a good point. I think we better check with Barnabas and the lady with the knives. And what about that kid? Oh, shit.
Sounds like a conversation you need to have with them.
True, I didn't think about that. I'll double back on
You
that.
come back when you're ready.
Yes, I'll do that.
All right.
And I'll let my friends know about what you were saying too. And this was supposed to be therapy for me as well. So I'll just say I feel really good going forward.
We can assume
Thank you.
also many hours of talking about what you went through. Any conversations that we want to have with folks you're talking to? Or shall we roll up some sanity?
I would like to talk to Tolman.
Yeah, all right.
Just briefly.
Yeah, please.
I wanted to thank you, Tolman.
Thank me.
Oh, yes. You've been invaluable on our journey. I literally don't know what I would have done without you if I had not been able to talk to you. I don't know where I'd be right now. And, I don't have much to offer you, but I was recently gifted with something precious that I don't think I need. And I hate to say this, but she reaches into her filthy sack, which is still the thing she is using to carry things around in, for some reason.
We have to keep it that way.
And takes out the portrait of Ray.
Yeah.
I know we didn't know him very long, but I think the two of you had a connection.
We did.
And that I suspect I'm not going to live the kind of life where I'll have a wall to hang a portrait on of an old friend. But I hope that you will.
Thank you. This is a very thoughtful gift. I accept.
I'm so pleased.
I would literally not be alive without you all. I know you won't forget, Ray. Don't forget. Don't forget all the connections you've made along the way.
I won't.
Any other conversations with therapy people?
I would love to have a little bit of a conversation with Stasi.
Should we
It's going to be mostly you, but okay.
let's dip in real briefly to part of the Vic Stasi conversation.
So, Grip said that he really got a lot out talking to you the other day.
Good to know.
And he strongly advised that I come and talk to you.
It's interesting. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I'm not sure if you can really understand this, but I've got, let's say, trust issues.
Yes, I can identify with you on that.
You can?
Oh, yes. Most people can't be trusted.
Yeah. No,
But,
you're right.
You cannot assume everyone. Otherwise, why live?
Yeah, you're right about that, too. It's hard. You have something that you feel like you sort of based your whole worldview on, and then you get it sort of pulled out from under you. You find out that it's not real.
The world changes every single day.
Well, you're not wrong about that.
Does it make sense not that your view of it could also change a little bit every day?
You know, I'm going to have to go back and talk to Grip because he said that you were very untalkative, and I find it to be...
Well, Grip is... well, let's not get into
He's
that.
taciturn. He's a little taciturn. at times, yeah.
He needed maybe a different kind of conversation.
Yeah,
But you are a talker, which I like.
you do.
Oh, yeah.
That's not something people normally say to me. Well, I appreciate it.
Nice. Let's roll up some sanity now. Let's start with Dibs and Skywin. Hey, 15 on the die. That's 2. Oh my gosh. Debwick has 0 sanity damage.
That's right, perfectly sane. I don't know why you're looking at me like that.
Gripper and Allard. 3 gone. Grip is at 0 sanity damage.
my
I'd like to
Gosh.
get that on a certificate, please.
Dora and Tolman. No, not today. Not today. And Roni and Stasi. Roll up,
Roni?
Katie.
Who's Roni?
Oh, sorry, Victor and Stasi.
I feel like
My
I
name's
don't want to
Vic.
roll this, but I will. 19 for 5 sanity damage healed.
Holy mackerel, Andy.
Bringing Vic down to 3.
Wow. It hasn't been that low in,
Oh my god.
like,
Since
maybe
you
the
first got the
second
damage
day.
that gave you the madness. Yeah. It's been a long time. So
I
we're-
think maybe Stasi retire and go into practice.
that might be a possibility. So we're going to leave Dora at 7 and Vic at 3 today. So we have the conversation to have now at this point about which of the backup characters are going on this journey and why. Sort of the assumption is they all are, but I could be wrong about that.
Do you all agree with the way Dabwick handled the thing with Skywin?
Okay.
Do you want to
yeah.
counter offer with that or anything?
Oh, no.
No.
Okay.
So I don't think we need to necessarily...
Okay, so the party agrees.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the backup characters.
Yeah.
Is Stasi expressing
Stasi's
interest in going?
Definitely expressing an interest in going.
And why do you think that is in her case?
Sort of a wanderer, a nomad.
Yeah.
And I think that she would follow the trail of something brought her here, encountered these people, Dora, Dabs, and something is pulling them forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's also an element of what's the other option? Go back
Her
to...
life is basically over there.
It
isn't
really is. So I think, yeah.
Wasn't, like, part of her job to go and find the Duke? Not the Duke, the...
Well, it was
and find out what's
Omari's
going on?
job, right?
Yeah, it's interesting.
But you're the only one left.
Right,
Yeah,
but she
I
also
know.
didn't know the details.
Yeah.
Like, she was not the one given the assignment. She was brought along as muscle for the 2 people who then died.
Yeah.
So
One of
she
whom was
she knew,
incredibly
like,
close to.
we're going there, we're trying to figure out what's going on. Well, her boss has died. Her life back in Caliphus is kind of a mess. And-
Stasi's a leaf on the wind, and the party is the wind.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she doesn't have I'm going to get this, I'm going to find this thing. She is going to find out what that thing is.
And it also occurs to me, while we've been doing our version of Book 2,
Yeah.
the bulk of Stasi's Book 2 was spent on this ship, caring for these people and others, getting to know Skywin, getting to know Lynn and Din and Joshua and the whole crew, because that's where she was the last 4 or 5 days in very challenging circumstances, probably using her healing magic and her healing expertise, and in times that we didn't need to or think to discuss. That there is certainly a connection with the ship, with the...
And her counseling.
Yes.
For these refugees and survivors that are still here.
Okay, great. So there's a possibility of mission to figure out what happened with the Count sort of floating in the air. There's a possibility of a connection with these people that's profound, and a possibility of she wants to see what's next.
Yeah, there's also a possibility that something else catches her eye on the journey and she fucks right off.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's where she is in her life right now. And she's still hard grieving Winter.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have a place to go home to that feels like home anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the expectation, the possibility for the opportunity to help people, do some good, do something that feels right to her and not take orders is very, very appealing.
Got it.
But Thrushmore itself, not very appealing.
Not very appealing at all.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Barnabas. What's he thinking, and where are you sitting with him?
I mean, I think he definitely would want to go. There's some similarities with the things you just said about Stasi. I mean, that's where the bulk of his time has been with the people on the ship. Maybe some more. I could see him having more in-town time than maybe Stasi, like going to the Stain and playing songs for people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think he also has no home to go to. Yeah. His hiding place doesn't exist anymore. And now he has found a new group of people who know the enemy.
Yeah.
And I think he feels, I don't know. I think he feels like they can all help each other. I think he doesn't want to be alone with that by himself.
Yeah.
Not knowing where that's going to lead him, and he wants to be able to offer aid or comfort or knowledge to these new colleagues who have the same affliction.
Yeah, and they seem to be pursuing a different way of managing it than the one that was so haunting in your past of the drugs and sacrifice, all that kind of stuff. They seem to be trying to approach this in a different way, and they've included you in that. At least Dora has.
And I think he probably could see the appeal of, well, I could just probably make a living in the tavern, but so I think he considered that.
Yeah.
But I think now that the time is upon him, the pull to leave is stronger than the desire to stay and feel safe.
Great. And Bates.
I've really wrestled with this for a while, because even when we talked about a lot of things originally, one of the things that we talked about that we didn't want to have in our storytelling was violence against children. And when I sort of latched onto this idea of Bates being a spiritualist, I kind of didn't think about that. And then when I started thinking about it again, I was like, how am I going to feel if this 11-year-old kid gets, completely destroyed or deals with these madnesses and all the other things that we put these characters through? And I was just like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so I think this is where Bates' story diverges. I think that he is really interested in the Four and the new detective agency, and it seems like something that he would be interested in being a part of. And he sees other people kind of staying in this town, and they're the people that he knows the best and feels the safest with.
Yeah.
They're the closest thing to family that he has. And so I think that he is like...
And in one case, literal family.
Also then, if they're staying, then that would be another reason for him to want to stay. So, yeah, I think that Bates is Thrushmore bound.
Yeah, I think that helps decide for me, too. I had been a little up in the air on Nesa and Mura because I had one idea in the back of my head before you talked to Nasa, but I think knowing that Bates wants to stay here, and knowing that Bates has ties to these people, and that they all want to be together, and that Nasa fundamentally agrees with everything you said, even if she may have a pull to return to her own home. I think she can also see the possibility of creating a home here in this godforsaken town, which maybe will be a little less godforsaken, hopefully. Knock on something going forward.
Along those lines,
Yeah.
I think that Vic would also, as a means of possibly sweetening the pot, talk to Grip and first make sure that it's okay with him, because it's kind of maybe his house. But if he's okay with it, then passing the deed of the house on to Mira and Nasa.
Well, I suppose that'll be all right. Thank you for considering. What's the split? 60-40 me?
Yeah. 60-40 or nothing? Absolutely.
Great. Math's not my strong suit. I'll leave the figures to you.
Here's some copper pieces.
Great. So the deed to the Bridgeview Roadhouse passes to Nasa and Mura.
Yep. And Bates.
So, Stasi and Barnabas are going to join us in Act 3, and we will work in new backup characters for both Polly and Johnny as we move forward.
I can't wait to speculate on every NPC we meet.
I will say this. It's possible you may have met one or both of them already.
Lynn and Din.
They wanted to be halfway twins. We do have one more afternoon block here before the ship takes off. Dora, you want to head up to that collection of journals?
Yeah, for the final bit.
Let's make this check there, Katie. So
can we talk about what the accrued bonuses are?
So we've got the +1 from the Xandalas journals. Mm-hmm. We have
2 days.
2 days of successful checks.
And I have a shiny new Ion Stone.
You do.
So it's going to be +4 to whatever I roll right now. 25.
So that will be 1d12 plus 5 is your intelligence modifier now? Is that right? +5 plus 2 more, which means you cannot help no matter what you roll.
Right, because we only have 7 left.
Yep.
Yeah.
You were just at 7, so you have successfully knocked down all of the knowledge points in this journal. Let's finish it up, friends. 2 little blocks left, the 5 knowledge point level and the 0. Let's start with the 5. So next up, it's the big break in the case. It began with Oliver Xandalas and Lowell's discovery that Mirtmain's former student was drawing charcoal sketches of these star stella. Lowell's began visiting him and talking to him, as you know, watching him sketch, as you know. He dove deeper and deeper into Oliver's trauma and finally realized that the standing stones that Xandalas was drawing were not the ones in Thrushmore. They were very similar, but it turns out that Thrushmore has a sister city. Somewhere on the planet, there is a city built by aliens with 3 star stele that had been activated, and that the inmost blot had landed right where that city, the city that Lowell's came to call Neruzavin, that the inmost blot had landed right where that city lies. So, Neruzavin is a city, and it's where Jamandor, the actual flesh and blood and growing piece of the Elder God, lives. And Lowell's wants to find it. But Lowell's was unable to dig up any hard proof of Neruzavin's existence in any text anywhere, not a mention. The name Neruzavin doesn't exist outside of this loose idea transmitted to him in detected thoughts from Oliver Xandalas, which were planted there by whispers from Hastur in his dreams. But Lowell's took the bit in his mouth and never stopped trying to find it. And based on his work with Xandalas, he became obsessed with dreams and using dreams as his primary means of research. During the same period of time, from Oliver's detected thoughts, Lowell's learned of Mirtmain's prized possession, the Chain of Knights, had the Triangle Man steal it for him. This set Lowles on a hunt for more and more books about dreaming and dreamwalking and dream travel. We saw some of these in the library as we were passing through during all those fights inside Iris Hill. He spent all of his family's money on books, and he gave those books to Tima to get working on. He spent all the town's money on more books. He spent all the county's money on more books. He started to have pesky booksellers who asked too many questions put down by Rip Tusk and the Triangle Man, and he just kept going. And finally, he learned of the existence of a being known as the Mad Poet. That the Mad Poet was this impossibly powerful being from another world, a possessor of knowledge that transcended time and space and reality. And he came to believe that the Mad Poet was the one person in this universe who could tell him how to find Neruzavin. And he learned that the Mad Poet made his home in a place called the Dreamlands, a vast and relatively stable section of the dimension of dreams. And he found out how to get there by means of an occult ritual. He learned the fundamentals of travel in the Dreamlands. And sidebar, here are those fundamentals. I want to walk through all of them with you right now because they may be relevant to know as you start to think and plan for yourselves for Act 3. So when you enter the Dreamlands, you manifest a lucid dream body that resembles your waking body. They have all the same spells prepared, all the same gear, the same daily abilities remaining. You basically appear there as yourself. Spells, abilities, and items used while adventuring in the Dreamlands are not expended upon waking. Everything you use there while you adventure at night in the Dreamlands is still there for you the next adventuring day. Damage experienced in the Dreamlands vanishes upon waking, except for mental ability score damage or drain. So any damage or drain to intelligence, wisdom, or charisma stays with you. However, important to note, death in the Dreamlands results in immediate traumatic awakening and instant madness. Crunch-wise, it works like this. You die once, and you immediately get enough sanity damage, no save, to give you a lesser madness. Die twice, and it's a greater one.
Do you have to still be under the lesser madness, or if you get healed back up, and you die again, is it then a lesser madness, or you die twice no matter what?
No matter what.
And when you say die, do you mean under 0 hit points, or do you mean die?
If your lucid dream body dies.
Got it.
So a lucid dream body can be below 0 hit points and can receive enough healing to get back above 0 without dying. You have to basically suffer character death in the Dreamlands to have this happen to your waking body.
And is that cumulative over a lifetime?
Yes.
Ugh.
Yes.
Are we one down?
What's that?
Are these bodies, the three of us, one down?
You don't know. As far as action points go, there will only be one pool of those per level. So if you spend it in a dream or you spend it awake, that's hitting your pool. Items found in the Dreamlands cannot be brought to the waking world, probably obviously, but they do persist from night to night and visit to visit and dream to dream. So if you pick up a suit of +5 armor in the Dreamlands, you won't be wearing it when you wake up, but you will be when you next visit, if you wish to be. Since the Dreamlands are relatively stable, no matter what's going on, you can rely on gravity, physics, and magic to all function basically as expected there. However, Lowles did note that both divine beings and particularly powerful dreamers can potentially transform the realm based on their wishes and whims. Tima advised Lowles to avoid such beings at all costs, for it is not Desna alone that can shape the place. And speaking of Desna, Lowles makes particular note of a line of thought impressed upon him by Tima, and it goes like this. Desna may be the goddess of dreams, She may have the ability to exert her divine will over not just the little subset neighborhood of the Dreamlands, but over the actual dimension of dreams itself. Yet even though she has the capability of exerting her will there, even she does not live there in the dimension of dreams. It is too dangerous and unstable for the goddess of dreams. So even though the Dreamlands, this little subset neighborhood, may be a place that Lowell's wanted to categorize as air quotes safe and stable, Tima repeatedly impressed upon him that those words are only relative, and that one of the reasons why there are so few known ways to use mortal magic to travel to the dimension of dreams, like for example, plane shift cannot take you there, is that when you
Plane shift cannot take you to the dimension of dreams.
Cannot take you to that plane.
Whoa.
Yes. So one of the reasons why there are so few known ways to get there is that when you use these mortal means, these occult rituals that kind of break the laws of reality, you are visiting the realm of pure chaos and infinite possibility without Desna's protection. You are effectively entering the TVA loom chamber of multiversal time storm with no suit. See, normally, Tima explained to Lowell's, when a mortal dreams, their visit to the dreaming is wrapped in a bubble of Desna's care, whether she does this consciously for everyone or it's just some unconscious byproduct of her divine nature. It's unknown, doesn't matter. But when you dream, Desna's will as a god guarantees that, for the most part, you return to the right body after the proper flow of time, no matter what you experience there. Using rituals like the one Lowell's uncovered places you outside of the goddess's protections. So if you're going to risk such travel, it is highly advisable to go to a part of the dimension, like the Dreamlands, that has at least some measure of stability, some guardrails, and do not stray from the path. And speaking of a measure of stability, the final thing to note about the Dreamlands from these notes is that the flow of time is reasonably stable and predictable there, meaning you will always return from a journey to the Dreamlands roughly 6 to 8 hours after entering it. No matter how many days, hours, years, or centuries you spend there. So, like, you won't pull a Desmond from Lost and wake up in your body, but like 5 years ago or something. That could happen if you go to the actual dimension of dreams.
How would it interact if when we dream, we are always dreaming the same dream of God, of Jamandor? How does that affect our dreaming selves, since they are already magically, organically infected with that?
Unknown.
Oh, man.
But you do know, from the journal chunk that we read last time, all of them were infected by Jamandor, and all of them were doing this.
Well, it's the point of entry, right? Because it's not like we're all falling asleep and then going to the Dreamlands. They're doing a ritual.
Yes.
There's an intervention there between our natural dreaming and...
Yes, some unnatural process is happening, disturbing your typical way of sleeping and dreaming. Because you're actually going to the place where dreams happen.
Yeah.
Physically. In a lucid dream body.
But our bodies themselves don't disappear.
No, they
They're
are
still
asleep
here.
for 6 to 8 hours.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And it's unknown from these records if then those bodies are having their own dreams, or if what they are dreaming is what you're doing there. Completely unknown in these notes.
Because these notes were written before they went.
Some of these would be written while they were going, but he doesn't seem concerned. You can tell as this is going along. It was all Tima who was urging caution, urging restraint, urging the dangers of this, and that he was like, go, 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 go.
So Tima knows it is dangerous to enter Teleranriad in the flesh.
Yes, exactly. Just to wrap up this little chunk of the journal. So flushed with excitement to obtain the information he'd been seeking for so long, Lowell's took his team of bodyguards into the Dreamlands, located the mad poet, and, as you the players know from our interlude, was instantly murdered by him. Lowles and the party woke back up on the material plane, but the resulting mental trauma took them months to recover from. You all went a little insane for a while. You probably didn't have helpful, friendly people to get therapy from at that point in your lives. But once they all did recover, Lowles and Tima continued their research, and Tima discovered that the mad poet would treat with no one that approached him without bearing gifts. And so, the hunt for suitable gifts began. Lowles made this certain caravanserai in the Dreamlands his home base, and from there he began talking with other dream travelers about how to appease the mad poet. He went night after night with his entire team, and frequently also with additional mercenaries, if certain skills were needed. Mercenaries who were then killed in the morning and dumped in a mass grave outside of town so that they would not be able to tell anyone, except perhaps someone with confabulation plates, what they had seen. He searched and searched, planning never to stop until he found the gifts he needed to give the mad poet in exchange simply for the privilege of talking to him without being destroyed by a wave of the hand. And Lowles learned something else. This is the big thing here. Something he discovered on his own and something he did not share with the rest of the team. The mad poet knows so much. Maybe everything? Lowles seemed to believe, since he seemed to exist outside of time, space, and reality. But there is a price to be paid for the answers the mad poet gives. And that price is a sacrifice. He would have to leave something behind. Something of vast, immense value at the mad poet's oasis in order to learn the location of Neruzavin. And he was very hopeful that the collected memories and life experiences of his 5 bodyguards would be a sufficient sacrifice to make. So basically, at this point in the research, you can consider anything we learned in the Act 2 interlude to be information your characters now hold, including like details on your classes and abilities and that kind of stuff. Somehow, through all the details you parse here, you can get all that information into your current characters' heads. So consider that all public knowledge now.
So we were the gift.
You were the sacrifice. It requires gifts to talk to him and a sacrifice for him to answer when you ask him. So if you approach him with no gifts, he kills you.
And we already died once and had a lesser badness. So if we die again, we have a greater badness.
Question.
But thinking about all of the pondering we've been doing from the beginning of Act 1 of are you even the same people if you don't have your memories and experiences, I think you probably would feel you are different people at this point. There's a lot of things that have happened that have led you to believe that what was taken from you took yourself from you, and that the person that now stands here pondering this question is, for all intents and purposes, a different person. At least maybe in dream logic.
Is there specific information about what the gifts he brought were, or do I remember from the interlude that he did not have sufficient gifts to even talk to him?
So the time we played in the interlude of him approaching the Mad Poet was the very first time he didn't even know gifts were required. Mm-hmm. And so you were all just killed with a wish spell. I forgot what it was, like hard wilting or something.
In the journal about what he learned from that experience, and did he work out what to bring next time?
Remember that bit about how some of the journal pieces are missing?
That would be that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Finally, you reach the end of your studies at 0 knowledge points, and you are able to piece together the occult ritual that Lowles used to travel to the Dreamlands.
First one.
This gets you to the point where I can give you the What's the second one? You'll learn the one
the Chain of Nights.
So I can give you all the details in the crunch, and this will leave you in a place where 5 additional days of study will give you the ability to cast it, if you wish.
Okay.
All right, ready for this?
Yep.
Okay. The ritual is called Dreamlands Excursion. It takes 50 minutes to cast. It requires 1 primary caster, a minimum of 2 secondary casters, and will permit up to 8. Anybody can be a secondary caster, though people who cast spells are particularly helpful. For each 4 secondary casters you have, all skill checks to attempt the ritual get a +1 bonus. Each secondary caster that also has the ability to cast spells adds another +1 to all skill checks for each 5 levels of a spell casting class that they have. All secondary casters must remain within 100 feet and line of effect of the primary caster and each other during the entire 50 minutes of the ritual's casting. There is a subset of rules of what happens if a ritual is interrupted. Basically, you can stop for a period of time if you have to fight something, but I forget what it is. We'll look it up if we need to. It's something in the effect of every round that you delay adds like +1 to the DC of the skill. You know what I mean? It's like it's a compounding, makes it harder to keep going. The ritual requires a focus component, a miniature staircase with 70 steps made of polished horn and ivory worth at least 25,000 gold pieces. And a little note in the margin here says, men and vultures. The ritual must be cast at night on the material plane. Over the course of that 50 minutes, after every 10 minutes, one of the casters must attempt a skill check. For this particular ritual, you must make 2 DC 25 Knowledge Arcana checks and 3 DC 25 Knowledge Planes checks. If the team succeeds at more than half of the checks, so 3 of them, all casters take 2d6 points of damage and the ritual succeeds. That's success. If the team makes fewer than 3 of the checks, they all take the 2d6 points of damage, the ritual fails, and an animate dream is summoned from the Dreamlands and immediately attempts to murder all of the casters. Success opens a portal revealing steps leading downward from wherever the ritual was performed, even if performed upon, say, a rooftop or the deck of a ship. The casters, any who wish, can descend the staircase together. Doing so puts their material plane bodies to sleep and thrusts their psyches into the Dreamlands. Before the completion of the ritual, the primary caster can utter a specific string of words that allows the portal to open up in a specific place in the Dreamlands. If they happen to know such words, no such words are indicated. Otherwise, the portal opens at the Forsaken Caravanserai, where the caster's lucid bodies manifest. Finally, any caster wishing to wake from the Dreamlands and return to their body on the material plane, say if you're about to die, must succeed at a DC 25 concentration check to do so. This is a full round action that doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity. The DC of this check is reduced by 1 for every 2d6 points of damage the traveler willingly takes to their physical body as part of the full round action, and this damage cannot be reduced in any way. If successful, the caster wakens. You can try again if you fail, and a caster uses either their concentration check if they're a spellcaster, if not, their character level plus their charisma modifier. So like in Grip's case, if he has to do it, he's probably taken a whole bunch of damage on himself to try to raise up what's going to be a god-awful concentration check.
Yeah. But then again, I mean, I don't know how he could get in there to begin with. All the casters have to make the...
No, so your presence as a secondary caster would simply be supporting what's happening. Your presence will give everybody who makes checks a +1 bonus on their checks.
Gotcha.
You just wouldn't be one of the ones to risk a check.
Right.
It's probably going to be Dora and Vic for this one, but as you look at rituals down the road, I think I talked about this at one point, right now, this ritual is keyed to knowledge checks. Not every ritual is. There are some down the roads that are keyed to like heal checks or intimidate checks, or as we do more of these things, as this campaign goes along, I think there are ones that you might be doing more than simply just providing a bardic boost to the team.
This is really cool.
Gotcha. Am I considered a spellcaster?
I would, yeah, as far as I'm concerned.
this,
Yeah,
okay.
as far as I'm concerned,
So now I would be
I don't want to
considered-
screw you out of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All my levels of investigator would be
Yes.
considered caster levels.
Yes. And since Stasi and Barnabas are going, they can be secondary casters, even though we're not going to bring them, unless something terrible happens, into the Dreamlands, most likely. Their presence, and both of them are spellcasters, is going to significantly boost these things.
Yep.
And how hard is a 25 check for Dora, Katie, and for Vic, Johnny? For Arcana and Planes? Is that doable?
Right now, I have a plus 15.
Okay.
So
50-50 chance.
50-50.
I've got in both of those things a 7 and a 7 plus 1d6.
Okay. So
But-
maybe
but
for this
those
one,
things
maybe
can-
it's Dora making the checks, but we'll see.
These things can also be boosted up with extracts.
Oh, with like Tears to Wine?
Yeah.
As long as it lasts 50 minutes,
Yep.
it has to go out the entire length of the ritual.
Yep.
Yeah.
But also, I'm not. We haven't gone up a level, so I haven't spent those skill points. So
So who knows, right?
could always be spent on increasing knowledge.
But the same thing I just mentioned to Robert also applies to you, Johnny. Like some of these down the road may very well likely require knowledge local or some of the skill checks
Yeah.
that you're more trained in. Do you have nature, or are you kind of skillless at this point, Polly?
Knowledge nature and knowledge engineering.
Oh, you got engineering too. Okay, great, awesome. So we've got our bases covered here for knowledge checks. I think most of them have at least one knowledge check as part of the thing. Men and vultures. Does that mean
Men
anything
and
to you?
vultures. Should it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy. Was that in relation
Men
to
and
Mm-hmm.
the statue that was in relation to the staircase?
Yes.
It's like that thing that was summoned that Millicent had.
Oh. Is it one of the titles of the books?
Go look at the titles of the books.
Men and vultures.
Yeah, so you ran out of Iris Hill the first
Yeah, with that.
flight with that
Footlocker
footlocker filled with
Yep, there it is.
21 specifically titled books.
Men and vultures, denizens of the darkened depths and dead skies.
That footlocker is, I think it's in the handy haversack. That's with you. You want to take a look at that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you open up that footlocker and you look at these books. Indeed, you've got the Men and Vultures books there, and sort of you've all sort of made the decision to not delve too deeply into this pile yet, but taking a look at Men and Vultures along with the rest of them, these are all very old but not ancient books. Like the two big books that Dora's read so far, the Narcotic Manuscripts and the Chain of Nights, they're like thousands of years older. In the case of Narcotic Manuscripts, maybe millions, who knows. These are probably just very old, like maybe 50 to 70 years old. Probably had to be hunted down very carefully and specifically from some weird library that didn't know what they were sitting on. And then the owner was probably killed by one of you. So Men and Vultures has been read many, many, many times. It is very banged up and dog-eared, and seems to have gone through a lot of abuse. Opening it up.
Yep.
Do you want to check it first for the sepia snake sigil?
I don't think that that's anything that I'm even thinking about at this point.
Inside, Vic, the interior of the pages has been cut out, and laying neatly inside, undetectable from the outside, is a miniature staircase of polished horn and ivory with 70 steps neatly inset inside this book in the cutout indentation of the pages. Wow. And as you're looking at, this is the first time opening this up, this is filled with handwritten, scrawled notes on the margins, all in Tima's hand for the most part. Every once in a while you catch notations of stuff in Lolz's hand. But it's clear that this particular book, and looking through the rest of these books here too, these books have all been read over and over and over, and so many notes have been made and observations and questions have been asked. It is a sea of that kind of marginalia. So enough to actually not be helpful in that it's like, what?
So not another research opportunity, just sort of a curiosity.
Not yet.
Not yet.
It's hard to even, at a first glance through these books, it's hard to even and I won't take time right now to tell you kind of what the subject matter is. They all seem to be of disparate enough subject matter, and the kind of notes that are being made in them seems to be enough of them that it's hard to, at first reading, make any connections here. But you got yourself a little miniature staircase worth 25,000 gold pieces.
I'm glad we don't have to go shopping for that.
Yes.
Oh, man.
So you have gotten the information out of this collection of Lowell's journals. And you know at this point, Dora, that you don't need to take with you the whole mass collection of this. We do know that you've already given some books to Vic that have some specific information and references to him and some of the Triangle Man backstory. There's probably a couple other ones that you would toss into your bag because they would help with information around the Dreamlands. And then there's the specific journal that has in it the ritual, the Dreamlands excursion ritual.
Yeah.
But we're not, unless you want to take the entire library with you, I would say Dora is feeling pretty strongly that she would not need to.
Yeah, there's so many other books to read
There's so many books to read.
that I don't think she feels the need to burden anyone with carrying around this stuff. If anyone disagrees, they're more than welcome.
We're taking the trunk
but-
of the specifically titled
yeah,
books.
yeah.
That's in the haversack, and that's staying there.
Is there anybody that would be worth anything to?
I mean, is any of this stuff that would be of use maybe to Vouston to show how poorly the Count ran this place and that he's been stealing from everyone and that he should be dispossessed of his
Title.
his county? Yeah.
It's perfect. It's a proof in Lowell's own hand that not only he had been stealing money,
bankrupted the town.
his mother had been stealing money before him, and that his father, basically the corruption of this family going back at least 2 generations, is all there for the reading in this thing.
For anybody who can read 7 languages.
Right, but
But yeah.
there's a lot of fancy people in Caliphus.
So she would definitely be totally fine with leaving that collection with Faustin and, noting here's the
taking some time to
specific-
show him what
here's
would
the
be
specific
useful.
passages that you might need.
Is there any other use like that we can think of for this collection of books? That's really fun.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only I would almost say like the specific things of the dangers and stuff, especially anything about Jamandor, like anything about that,
Oh,
those
yeah.
parts, I
Those-
would be like, those are excised and burned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any entry that has a lot to do with that has not much other use, destroyed. Rip out the pages with Jamandor's name on it.
Yep.
The great culling.
And that's something that the group of you can do together in terms
Yeah.
of plowing through that Doric and direct that little project.
Tell me what pages to rip out. I'll rip them out. I'm helping.
Have you put that bookmark in any book yet?
I
Katie?
might put it in the how can you want to say necrotic? The necrotic
Oh, we'll get there.
manuscript.
Oh, do you want to put it in the book that has the staircase in it?
Oh.
Because then you
my
could summon that
gosh.
from anywhere in the world.
Yeah, definitely. I'll put it in the Men and Vultures.
Great.
I was looking on my sheet and noticing I still have the collection of secret patient files in the handy haversack. And I feel like that would be something that I would pass on to Mira and Nasa and go, we picked these up, but we shouldn't have these.
And they love a good research project, as we know from Act 1. So maybe, they would, as sort of a final act, as like Nasa leaves her station as nurse at the asylum behind her, sort of one final act, go through there just to see if there's anything that she needs to know about
Anybody who's here.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
otherwise,
Get rid of them.
these should be burned.
Nobody
or
needs this
yeah,
information anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clearing things off my sheet.
Let me see your sheet.
Let me see your sheet.
Clearing things off of it.
As you all are heading down to the ship, joining Stasi and Barnabas to get on board the Sullen Starling and leave Thrushmore. Made a quick little checklist for myself here. I think Faustin's plan is to stay as acting magistrate until the government arrives. And he takes the delivery of these journals very seriously, and he plans to use them. Tolman's gonna stay in Thrushmore, help with the cleanup of the new chapel, see what follows. I'm seeing him meeting and making friends with Lelwyn after this conversation that we just had.
Yeah.
They would cross paths a lot because they would be in the same
Oh,
neighborhood.
I hope he's not offended that I gave away the portrait to Tolman.
Probably wildly offended at first and then would come to understand.
Okay.
And maybe Tolman doesn't share that. I mean, Tolman would have known where you got it. And
Yeah.
He might have. He'd be. Tolman is very
I
sensitive
leave
about
it to
that kind of stuff.
Tolman's discretion.
For sure. Elburn's going to stay in Rushmore for a while.
I would definitely have gone to the Silver Wagon
Yeah.
and mentioned him specifically.
As like an entertainer.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. He's going to help Dina because she needs help. Sprucing up the Silver Wagon, you know. It's a bit drab, a bit downy. Spice the place up a bit. And then I think he's going to help Valston negotiate with the government agents when they inevitably arrive.
Oh, nice.
That's a good job.
And then
yeah.
maybe see where the wind's blowing.
Yeah.
Denman for right now.
I also would
Yeah.
have given Heartsbane back to Valston and said, I no longer have any use for this.
The rapier.
Oh, yeah, he will absolutely accept that.
When you had it, it was probably the most helpful it's ever been used.
It will see to its legacy in the future. Maybe change the name, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind in the least.
Denman's going to stay, get the stain up and running again. At least for now. He doesn't need Elburn's help with any sprucing. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think Nasa and Mura stay. And they stay with Bates. And I think they take charge of Loic, who basically has nobody.
Yeah.
They'll take him in and keep him safe and comfortable.
What about Maeve and Brenton?
Here's my thought. So Gretchen Ostler actually does exist.
She does.
And during the days up in the keep, I'm picturing her taking a shine to Maeve
Yeah.
and Maeve to her. And she's going to take Maeve and Brenton in. So it turns out she'd never met Reese, has no idea who she is or that
Just
she
a
ever
name
existed.
that Reese
She
threw
just was like a
around.
vibrant personality that Reese caught in the market. Reese's like, good cover. She's someone who is memorable but forgettable, doesn't have a family in town, but I can use that person.
Reese.
And Erwin wants to go home, and she has arranged to ride along with Osgood Turnhart with the caravan of gnomes to get clear of the bandit-infested
She's Snow White
stretches.
now.
So she's going to leave with the gnomes into hopefully a better life, and Jared and Danae, as we know, are gone.
Not dead.
We don't know. Well, Glowing Jewel's been smashed. There's no more threat of will-o-wisps. Tully Rumsetter survived Book 2.
Hey.
Yay!
For
What,
him.
What crafty thing did you have Nyx do?
Wait for it.
Oh, an epilogue.
All right, and of course, everybody level up before we return in Act 3. Level 7.
Nice.
Very good. All right, let's close with our Act 2 epilogue. Weirelai stands on the docks of Briarstone Isle. Through the gaps in the straps of yellow silk that bind her blasphemous mouth parts inside her face, she stares up at the asylum, or actually, at the massive globe of yellow fog which surrounds it. It's the 25th of Lamashan, day 2 of this campaign. Weirelai walks up the blasted lawn on her goat hooves and simply strolls through the yellow fog to the front of the building. She walks through the bubble as though it doesn't exist, and she does this because, in a way, to her, it doesn't exist. Or at least to her, it's not an obstacle. No more than a cloud of water vapor would be to you or me, because, of course, she is a denizen of Leng. In a way, she is dream stuff. Soon she finds herself in front of a stone wall. She raises a hand. Her milky, pupilless eyes flash. Her hand scans through the air, scans like it's looking for something, like it's kind of like a divining rod, and then it stops. She points a single clawed finger. She points inside the asylum and down. Hand still outstretched, she eyes the front doors briefly and decides against it. She then simply floats up to the shattered remains of the second floor. And she walks across the top of the building through the rubble. She holds still for a moment, lets the night gaunt pass below her. The party hasn't encountered it yet, but they will in a couple of days. When it's gone, she continues. Soon, very soon, she reaches the one singular place in the entire Book 1 Briarstone map you as players never entered. The West Courtyard. She floats down, lands silently on the blackened grass next to a trampled flower bed. After a moment of scanning the scene, she follows her outstretched hand to the northern end of the courtyard. She ignores the door that leads to the western hallway where Jared, Danae, and Vouston currently stand watch with their crossbows, and she opens a rusty old door into a small storage room. Inside, she finds a large metal garbage chute descending into the side of the wall at a steep angle. She climbs in and slides down. She lands in a pile of corpses, and she is significantly more agile than Ray was, so she doesn't get corpse juice in her mouth parts. She follows her pointy claw through the open door and into the prison. Silent as the grave, no one marks her passage. She passes Ray's cell and Grip's cell, empty now, and she reaches Gulliver Vaticus. And he is dead. What? What about the rest? She passes Gull's cell and Dora's cell, empty now. She passes a final cell, also empty, and turns the corner to the south, following the pull towards the one thing she knows they will always have with them. That axe is practically an extension of Rip Tusk's arm. No force on this planet could ever make him leave Dog Reaver behind. But there it is, in pieces, in a heap of trash, and no sign of the four of them. She howls in rage. Upstairs in the furnace room, Dora stirs fitfully in her sleep, briefly wakens, unsure of what disturbed her already disturbing sleep. Detecting no immediate threat, she slips back to sleep, only barely aware of Ray writhing while dreaming of his first joy-making. Below, Weirelai paces in fury. 58 years stolen from her. Where are they? Where are they? No. That's not the important thing. If they live, she'll find them. It'll be hard if they're not carrying their gear, but she found them once, and she'll do it again. But it's the larger question that's driving her mad. What, in Haster's name, did Lols do to them? She must know. She must understand. She must know. And so, an obsession is born. Weirelai tosses Vaticus's corpse over her shoulder as if he weighs nothing. It will be useful. It can be questioned. Once she finds the materials to make herself a set of plates, she returns to the east, steps atop the corpse pile, and floats up the chute. Back in the courtyard, she floats to the top of the building, then floats down again, light as a feather, in the front. She walks back down the lawn, through the yellow fog, and disappears from view. It's the 11th of Neth now. No bell tolls tonight. 4 companions sail the mist-shrouded waves of Lake Encarthen aboard the Sullen Starling. The last time they left a place of hauntings and terrors upon these waters, their heads were racked with pain. But tonight, there is no throbbing. There's no stabbing ache from an unknown source, because the connection was cut the moment they left the borderlands of the Dimension of Dreams behind them. Far away, all that the prisoner knows for sure while it sits there slowly dying, shackled to its grim granite wall, is that where once there were 4, now only 3 remain. 3 faint echoes. And it weeps. It can't help it. Without all 4, there is no hope. But it could be wrong. It's been wrong before. Look where it is now. So all it can continue to do is try to hope while it slowly, slowly dies. And in the absence of the sound of a tolling of a bell, 4 companions have found quiet corners on the deck of the Starling as they sail into whatever the future may hold for them. Dora, Grip, Gull, and Ray entered this act. Dora, Grip, Vic, and Dabwick leave it behind.
Dora stands at the port side rail, and she stares back at the spot where the whaling house once stood. The location in time and space where she turned her back and walked away from Ray. Her left hand scratches the back of her neck. This unconscious gesture. It's getting worse. She looks down at her right hand, her favored hand. The hand that wrote the note to Eric, whom she cannot remember, at some time and in some place that she also cannot remember. And for the first time since she awoke, she feels the kind of existential fear her companions became familiar with, but she arrogantly assumed she had been spared. The fear of who she may once have been.
Meanwhile, one layer down, fully on the ethereal plane now, floating 60 feet in the air above the ashes of the whaling house, Braden Vaticus watches Thrushmore, and he waits. The torment has passed, and the agony and the terrifying, relentless sense of confusion and panic. He almost feels a little hand in his. Or is that a faint whisper he hears in his ear? He's not sure. He's not sure what he feels, but for the first time since he died, that's okay. He's content to simply wait now, however long it takes. Because after all, he still has so much help to give.
Meanwhile, back on the Starling, Grip stands by the starboard rail and stares away from the shore, out into the foggy vastness of Lake Incarthen. He can't picture where in his mind they're going. He doesn't really care about the place he's leaving. Doesn't have any love for it, no attachment to it. Since he can't remember more than the couple of handfuls of fucking days he remembers being alive, he's got no past to cling to. He doesn't like dwelling too much on the past as a rule. Doesn't like to fret too much as a rule about the future. He lives in the present. Now, that's all he can do because, again, he's only been alive for 18 fucking days, right? But he's got a feeling, based on the things he's been shown, that's probably pretty much how he lived his life before anyway. Just for the here. Just for the now. But right now, the now, the present, the right here is dominated by the sensation. These fucking tattoos on his arms. They're tingling. They're crawling on his skin. At first I felt like an itch, but that's not what it is now. Now it's... I mean, he knows too well what it feels like when a wound is trying to heal itself, and that's what this feels like. Something trying to mend itself, like a wound knitting itself painfully back together. Or at least that's what it feels like. But that's probably not fucking real, right? No. Nothing's looking for him. Nothing's seeking him out, seeking his soul. What the fuck is a soul anyway? Fucking cunts.
Meanwhile, aboard the Aurora, a sleek river vessel designed for speed above all else, a man of a similar age as Dora and Tima stands at the stern, leaning against the rail. He stares back across the lake towards the past, his fingers delicately running through the carpet of purple-grey mossy fungus coating the back of his neck. Hazerton Pragmus Lowles the Fourth sulks behind his quite stylish, thank you very much, purple glasses. He feels disquieted tonight. He doesn't know why. It's almost as if everything that's happening isn't about him, and that is a sensation he cannot abide. So he stares pathetic little daggers back at Thrushmore.
Meanwhile, back on the Starling, Dabwick stands at the prow staring forward into their future, in eager anticipation of returning home. Is it possible that, if it weren't for the curvature of the planet, their eyes might be locking with the Count's? Impossible to know for sure, but in truth, Dabwick doesn't actually see the vista before them. In their mind's eye, they see Casimir, Quickfall Abbey, Greyguard Castle, the Imperial Naval Shipyards, and of course, Blackwood Swamp, and the former infirmary on the edge of the swamp, which the most famous philanthropist in the city calls home.
Meanwhile, aboard the HMS Ardent, a heavily armed ocean-going military vessel, a blonde man with an angular face and an easy smile stands amongst a group of 13 like-minded individuals that have taken to calling themselves the Esoteric Knights of Evolvement. Fools. Old Garen is prattling on about something or another, but my Acnean Mun is lost in thought, staring out over Casimir's Imperial Naval Shipyards, and he feels unsettled. The skin suit didn't fit Altheel. Twain is going to be very, very upset. Old Hazy can't get here soon enough.
Meanwhile, back on the Starling on a crate at the stern of the ship, Vic sits with his copy of The Stars Are Not Among Us. He plans to read it all. He wants to get inside the mind of his enemy. At least this one sounds less god-awfully dull than a history of the history of Versex. He opens the book, he flips past the 8-page acknowledgement, which Lowell spends exclusively on acknowledging himself, and reaches chapter 1. There are at least 6 grammatical errors in the first sentence, which runs nearly the first entire page, and Vic looks up. This is going to be a drag. He briefly stares back towards Briarstone Isle, where all this began. At least all that he can remember. He thinks of waking up in that cell and seeing Vaticus die on the table. Dora asking if his name was Gull. his dream with the ragman taunting him about knowing his real name, seeing his face in the mirror when he came to, changing into the killer's face. Surrounded by his friends in the record room when they learned Vaticus died on the table and that was not him. Looking out of the tower after failing to fight the ragman and failing to help his friends and contemplating jumping. Sitting in the boat leaving Briarstone and seeing that vision and hearing the name Roni as he cursed Vaticus and feeling his body physically change into Roni Stoisha. Arriving in Thrushmoor and then the gut-wrenching experience over and over and over again of seeing the people in Thrushmoor refusing to trust him or meet his gaze and obviously having been tormented by him. Having his desire to help thrown back into his face over and over again. And then raised death. And the paranoia springing full bloom. And being so absolutely certain that once again Vaticus is making him jump and pulling his strings. And then seeing Vaticus's body dead again at the foot of the Stella. And Melisande saying the name Victor. And once again feeling his body change. And then Dora showing him in Lowell's words how wrong he's been this entire time. He thinks about wanting to know his enemy and wondering what face or name will he see or hear next.
And finally, northwest of Thrushmoor, halfway to Briarstone Isle, there is a swirl of mist. And where moments ago there was nothing but air and water, a black ship with blood-red sails materializes from out of the fog, as if out of a dream or a nightmare. It hadn't been simply out of view. It had not been there before. Not on this plane of existence, at least. To the sound of the lashing of a whip and the agonized cries of 20 inhuman beings, oars beat the waves of Lake Encarthen. The prow of this inky black ship is carved into the shape of a bulbous, puffy, loosely humanoid creature with clawed hands, no eyes, and an elephantine snout surrounded by over a dozen tentacles. This obscene figurehead, made of wood, raises its head, waves its wooden tentacles, and the ship itself speaks.
Thrushmoor lies ahead.
At the wheel, a figure that resembles a man, wrapped in black leather with a black scarf covering what passes for its mouth, turns to the dead woman beside him.
Orders are orders. Time to fetch our mistress and be on our way.
And that's the end of Act 2. Join us soon for Act 3. Dark Nexus is a creation of Plug and Hum Productions. This podcast uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Incorporated, which are used under Paizo's community use policy. We are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. This podcast is not published, endorsed, or specifically approved by Paizo Inc. For more information about Paizo's community use policy, please visit paizo.com/communityuse. And for more information about Paizo and Paizo products, please visit paizo.com. That's PAIZO.com. Dark Nexus uses music and soundscapes by Sirenscape. Check them out at sirenscape.com. That's SYRINSCAPE.com. Opening and closing themes, along with additional music, composed by Rob Kauzlaric. Artwork for Dark Nexus is by Matt Wahlquist. Special thanks to Toy, without whose generosity this project would not have been possible. And thanks to DMCP, Richard and Ari, Paul and Shannon, Chris, Scotty, Jason, Jess, Joe, Chelsea, Matt, Dave, Darren, and everyone we've gamed with over the years for all the memories and inspiration.
Yay!
I've been waiting for this my whole
And we
life.
level. Level.
Double level.